Hello, hello, and welcome to this part one of 5 series about chaos to calm. So what is chaos to calm, and who am I, and what am I doing here sharing this with you? So if you have never joined me live before or been on my page, then I'm Alison Stockton. I'm a board certified functional medicine practitioner, and I work with clients through the lens of trauma-informed coaching, somatic healing, and really getting to the root of what is truly going on with women, how they're showing up in their lives, what they're doing, how they're being, and trying to make change, transformational, transcendent change that really impacts their lives and makes them feel like they're truly living an enriched life. But more often than not, we're living in this chaos, and that chaos may not necessarily be external from us anymore, but it's created an internal chaos within us. So a lot of people are throwing around the word trauma now and not really understanding what that truly means because, well, everyday life, is that not? Everyday life where we experience trauma. 70% of our 8 billion or however many people in the world, 70% of those people have experienced some trauma in their lives of some form, and it could even be generational trauma that's been passed on, and then you live in this state of chaos internally and not really knowing why, and that creates that external chaos that people who come into our lives with relationships or marriages and children and all of these friendships, all of these different levels have a chaotic way of being, which impacts the chaos in our internal system. So trauma is a word that has been used a lot in recent years because we're addressing it and we're no longer afraid to really own up to what it is and how it impacts not only ourselves, but ourselves and the people around us. So when we're living in that chaos, how can we create calm? So I'm going to be just sharing with you over the next 5 days my guidance for you, my teachings to you of how what I've learned in all of these years, my 49 years of living mostly with dysregulated state in chaos, and how finding the work of integrative medicine and working with functional medicine and somatic healing and trauma through a trauma-informed lens of how that really gets to the root of what's truly going on. Because at the end of the day, you cannot just drink a green smoothie or have a green juice and expect your healing process to be done in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. It takes time, it takes process, and it takes a connection back to self to truly embody all of those parts of you that have been in chaos to connect back into creating calm. And what that means is, with the chaos that's around you, is it can be disorganized. It can be disorganized in our thoughts, disorganized in how we live our life. The mess that's around us can therefore really truly create a message in our calmness. So that disorganized, confused state also impacts the disorganized and confused state within us. So that can impact, people say when they're really highly emotional, oh, it's my hormones. And actually it's probably the hormones that are affected because of the dysregulation and the inability to really process how your emotions are impacting you and then affecting the way that the hormones respond to that. So things like cortisol, things like adrenaline, they impact our sex hormones, which is, we all think often that we only have the progesterone, estrogen and testosterone as a woman, but we have so many hormones, and that creates a cascade which then creates this imbalance and chaos within us. So dysregulation could be, you just don't know how to regulate ourselves or how to just pause for a moment. How do we take a breath? How do we really connect to our truest self? How can we embody who we truly are if we've never been shown how to, and if we've never experienced how to? So how can we connect to ourselves? And I always say connect to self rather than reconnect, because we often have never even had that connection in the first instance to therefore reconnect it. But they're already there. They are there, like the synapses and the neurotransmitters, the chemical responses in our body that's impacted that biological process because of the experience, whether that be the traumas or whether that be the high level stress and you're functioning in that high level stress, and therefore we can't get those receptors to respond in a way that we would like them to in that chemical reaction. So it causes this imbalance and this chaos that just continues over and over again in this cycle until we find a way to really truly connect to calmness. Don't get me wrong, sometimes we want a little bit of chaos, sometimes we want a little bit of that adrenaline, and we want a little bit of that cortisol surge. But if we're living in that state where it's, I'm going to use the word hypervigilant here, and that is when we're in that state where loud noises may affect us, or the way someone's tone of how they've spoken to us. My voice right now, if you're watching this back, might be a little bit triggering. It might be too soft. It may feel like, who's she? It's going to impact people in different ways. And that is a very subjective response, because we're not all for everybody anyway. And one person's experience of even me speaking might be so different to somebody else's. The way that I speak, the way that I am, the way that I look could be really triggering for someone else, but yet really calming for another. And that is an invitation again to really address, what is it about that trigger? Why are you activated? Why is it that? Is it in an angry way? Is it in a negative way? What is it that that's triggering you? And how is it then that that's calming you? So we look at those differentials to say, whoa, okay, yeah, that's how my reaction is. That's how I'm responding. I'm responding as in a stressed state. So how do we then come into a place where we can be in a calmer state? And we do need that calmness. We need that calmness in the chaos. And then sometimes we need the chaos. If you have ever been to India or experienced, even on the movies, the way that India is, it's chaotic all the time. It's do, it's go, go, go. There is bicycles with furniture going down the highway. There is cows just moseying on along. They're the calmness. But everybody's beeping and wants to get past because they've got somewhere to go. They've got things to do. They need to be moving. But the cow is just there, and, the calm, and it's a sacred cow. So even though people are slowing down, internally, they're really agitated and wound up. So therefore, they become... that agitated part can change the way that the hormonal response is within their body. But can they then quieten that down? Can they calm that down? Can they come back to a state of, I'm going to use the word homeostasis, which is like the real calmness in our body, that we need that balance, but we do need the chaos as well. But we don't need that constant cycle of being in those triggered, activated in a negative way. Because we can be activated and go, whew, yeah, we're ready to do this. It's ready to go. We're all excited. We've got that fire going in our belly that, is making us feel that we're inspired to move and make change. But also in that chaos of everything that's going on, in that chemical reaction, the biological changes in our body, we can also find different stages where we're in the fight or flight. So that's the chaos all the time. We do need fight or flight because we need that adrenaline, like I said, and that cortisol, and that be able to get up and do and have excitement. But then we've got the freeze response and the fawn response, where we can be calm, we can be in our rested state, but we can also shut down. So that level of calmness is not healthy either, because we've shut down to the point where we're not able to get up and go and do things. We've gone into a freeze or a fawn response where we want to hide, we can't function through the day, or we're getting through things and we become exhausted. And that's then when our body and our biochemical, the biology of that trauma and that chronic stress, has almost disabled us to be able to function in an optimal level. So there is balance that's needed in everything. There is the chaos, there is the calm. Do we need the both? What is chaos to you? How does chaos feel? Does chaos feel good? Does it feel exciting? Does it feel like that's your drive? Because many people do. When you're so used to being in that response of chaos and drive, we actually then can't get back into that calm state. How many of you have been busy through the day and then you can't switch off your mind because your mind is just ticking, ticking, ticking. You need something to do. You've got to be active. You've got to have your hands doing something, or you've got to watch TV, and then you've got to text and check emails all at the same time. That's when our nervous system is in that dysregulation. And so therefore we can't find the calm. We might be watching TV, might be numbing out, but actually that is in our body. So if we sit with that in our body for a moment and think about sitting calmly, maybe watching TV, we're not present and we can't really feel what's going on in our body. So that's where the somatic part of being in the healing phase of the somatics of, well, how do I feel when I'm sitting here when I'm supposed to be relaxing? What's going on? Where is the knot? Do I have a knot in my belly? Is my heart racing? Do I feel that I'm going into that complete shutdown if I'm not stimulated all the time? Does it feel that, and I'm going to use the word depressed. It doesn't mean that we are depressed. It means that we are depressing, pushing down a little bit how we are being in that moment. Can we calm? Or do we prefer to be in that agitated state? So both of the states, when we're in complete shutdown or when we're in complete hyper alert, is both states are when our nervous system is dysregulated. We're not able to bring or find that calmness. So if you're in that chaos, if you need things to do, you've got to be on the go all the time, it's also really important to attune into your body. As when you think about that response in your body, when you think about how you are do, go, 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 how does that actually feel? Does that resonate with you? Is that how you live your life? Is that how you just have become accustomed and that's become your behavioural response to be in that do, go, go, go? That chaos of all the things everywhere, that you have no idea where things are, can't find things, disorganized, disorientated, distressed even? Or is it that chaos gives you focus and it keeps you going, that if you stop to try and find calmness within your body and within your life, it's actually quite scary? And the other side of that is, if you're in that fawn or that freeze response in another state of dysregulation over a certain period of time, then how do we get to be able to be activated in a healthy way? Gosh, that seems so overwhelming to just be do, go, go, go. And I don't know what happened there, but there we go. That was meant to happen on the fireworks. But that's what needs to happen if you're in that real kind of dorsal phase, in the polyvagal, which is the three phases of the vagus nerve, which is the cranial nerve, which is the wandering nerve through our body. And if it's in dorsal vagal too much of the time, almost in that fawning response, then how do we get that energy to get up and do things and have a little bit of chaos, but in a nice way, that's like, oh, it's chaotic and I'm excited, or actually it's chaotic and I'm really, really scared. And then we want to find the calm, but calmness is really scary. I don't want to be calm. I don't want to be still. I don't want to be not doing anything. So these are the things that we're going to be covering over this 5-part process of from chaos to calm. And my focus here is to find more calm from the chaos, from that dysregulated part, maybe from that hypervigilant part. And dysregulated, as I've just said, could be too highly alert all of the time. Sounds just get you going quickly, hypervigilant, always aware, always seeking danger. And it's been able to find a calmness and safety as it is right now, safety wherever you are, safety in your body, safety in your mind, safety in the knowing that you can actually move through and transcend from wherever you are right now in this moment if it's feeling that you're needing that support and that work, and really working through in a somatic way, in a healing way, so that you can get to that point where you want to have more calmness in your life and you actually want to feel safety within that calmness. Because for many who you've experienced a high level of stress, or so many traumas, have been living with PTSD or CPTSD, then they are a different phase where it sometimes doesn't feel safe to be calm, because that's when we're quieting down, that's when we're going to go back into our thoughts. And that's the difference of a somatic approach to supporting women with their healing, is that we work on a bottom-up approach. So somatic from the body, and the up is the mind. So lots of times when we're talking about how we heal, there has been this process of talking. And whilst talking is great, if you find yourself in this repetitive cycle of this roller coaster of just talking about it, or this never-ending revolving door of just talking, repeating the story over and over again, and not allowing yourself to process it, that's when we stay in that system of being dysregulated. Unhealthy habits start to approach, and we feel unwell in our body, a general malaise of illness, pain, disconnection from self and others. So we want to bring connection back into this calmness as well. So if this has resonated with you, this is a very short, brief part 1 on this first day. If this has resonated with you, if you feel that there is somebody else you know that would love to hear this or could benefit from hearing this, or you yourself are listening to it again, please let me know. Drop a comment in the comment box. If you feel that somatic work, somatic EMDR, or another way of working with your body, not just your mind, can really help you, then drop me a comment below or send me a DM. This is part 1 of 5. You can always come back and watch it on replay, and I look forward to hearing your takeaways from today. And in the meantime, I'm just going to close this off by inviting you, if it feels safe to do so, is just to become aware of your body in this moment, in this here and now. You can place your hands over your chest. You can go into a butterfly where your thumbs are together or linked, or over your shoulders. So to become aware of your own body, of your own senses, of how that feels. Does it feel safe? And just take a pause. We don't have to go into too deep a breath, but just by tapping your hands on your shoulders into this bilateral stimulation, calming the breath down, taking deeper breaths, and notice what comes up for you. And in that moment of just talking and bringing out lots of information, I now need to integrate it and just notice, how do I feel? How do I feel sharing that? What's going on in my body? What's going on in your body? When you recognize and you notice what's going on in your body, how does that then make you feel in your awareness? And then we can work on that. Having an awareness of what's going on is what can connect the puzzle to making changes in your healing. So I'll see you for part 2 tomorrow. And in the meantime, drop any comments or send me a DM if you have any questions. And I will see you soon.